Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining the Power of Fight with Danny Efron. I'm Danny Efron, and I am pleased to host another interview on my channel today with brain cancer survivor, fellow brain cancer survivor, Susan Hilburger. Hello, Susan. Welcome so much to the channel.
Welcome. Welcome.
Uh, I, it's
Thank you for bringing me in.
Oh, my pleasure. Well, it's an honor to have you on, and I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to do this with me.
Yeah, of course. I've been wanting to do this for a while. We just had some things that didn't work out for time, but I'm glad that we're able to do this today.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Susan, just to kick things off, why don't you tell us a little about yourself, tell us a little about your cancer battle, and then we can kind of move into things.
Yeah, so my name is Susan Hilburger. I was diagnosed February 7th, 2011 with GBM stage 4. I went through 2 years of chemotherapy, and I did 6 weeks of radiation. Um, at the time, they didn't really know because I was a longer term survivor. So we're like, well, we don't know how much, we should give you, how many months and years that we have to give you for the chemo. So they stopped at 2 years. And but yeah, I went 2 years of Temidor, for 2 years of Temidor. And then the doctors were like, okay, well, just go ahead, live your life.
Yeah,
I was like, okay, which was really challenging and terrifying as well. Um, and then after that, a year after that, I met my husband. I was never married. I met my husband, and then a year after that, I had a daughter. Now, I was really, really nervous because I was scared. I mean, I didn't think that I would ever even have a child because I went through, radiation, chemotherapy, 2 years of chemotherapy, all that stuff. I never ever thought I would have a child. So when I found out that I was pregnant, I was very, very nervous. Um, Luckily, the pregnancy went really well. My daughter is now 8 years old. She's healthy, I'm healthy. So it's a really amazing miracle. And I just thank God every single day for that.
absolutely. Well, that's wonderful, and I see your dog sneaking in the back there.
He's
As I
laughing. He's
slowly
like, okay,
coming
I just
up.
want to lay back to my to
Excellent.
my mom.
Well, so that is wonderful. I mean, so for those people who don't know, GBM is glioblastoma. Of course, that's
Mhm.
the most aggressive form of brain cancer. Now, it's funny with having a child shortly after. I was in the same boat. I was on chemo, radiation. I didn't think I was going to be able to, ever, have a child of my own. And things just happen sometimes, and I have a beautiful 6-year-old boy, so our stories really align in that respect. Now,
Yeah.
Susan, let me ask you. So I remember when okay, so now this is where I always say I probably did my error in judgment because the doctor said I should be on chemo forever, and I was against that. So I took myself off like only after 6 months of chemo. Now, other doctors said I should have stayed on for 2 years, and as we know, my cancer came back in 2022. So you did that full 2 years of chemo, and then how long have you been cancer free since? And if you can tell us about that and like what your checkups look like, how often you go in for
Yeah.
MRIs, blood tests, things like that.
Yeah, so they told me because from the protocol and from the documentation, they didn't really know.
Yeah.
So they just said, okay, well, we're going to do the 2 years. And I didn't really want to do it, but they were like, okay, well, this is what the protocol was at the time. And this was 2011. So they didn't really know. I mean, things have changed so much now.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so I was getting I get MRIs. I was getting MRIs every 2 months for
Okay.
a long period of time. I mean, I'm 11 and a half year brain tumor survivor. So I would get them every 2 months, every 3 months, Now I'm doing every 6 months, and with and without contrast.
Same
So
here.
I get those. But I don't do any, I mean, I make sure I get this. Before I was always doing like 4 months. But the thing is what my doctors had said and what I've researched, the more that you do have, I mean, it's like it's one of those things where do you want to get the contrast, but you have to have the contrast when you get the MRI. So it's like for those years, they're injecting you with the dye, and then you can flush it out, through your kidneys and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. Lots of water.
But so I'm right now. So basically the thing is I'm doing 6 months, but before I was doing like 2 to 3. So over the last 11 years, I've been doing either 2 months, 3 months, and now I'm doing 6 months.
Okay, no, I hear you. So for those of you who out there who don't know, so contrast is just a dye that they inject in you to
Yes.
help
Mhm.
illuminate things like in your brain, like where
So you
blood
can
flow
actually
is.
see. Mhm.
Exactly. So you can actually see what is going on. So,
Mhm.
my MRIs are in line with yours. When I was back in 2015, my MRIs, started off like every, month at first, and it was every 2 months, and it went
Yeah.
to of ultimately every 6 months. And then that's what happened again in 2022 when they discovered the new tumor growth. And then it was like every 2 weeks, and now I'm
Uh,
slowly back to every 3 months, which is good. So,
okay. Okay. Yeah.
you know,
I know. It's hard because we don't, I mean, I don't want to keep on putting the dye in me. I know it impacts the kidneys, but at the same time, I mean, do you want to, what is do you want to do the dye or do you want to die? I mean, I don't know. It's just so confusing for that. You have to keep on doing the MRIs, but I know that's where you really have to find if there's any type of growth.
no, absolutely. Well, it's funny because I was at the point, last year saying, well, I probably don't need to go in for every 6 months anymore. I was going to just start scheduling it every year. And
Hmm.
lo and behold, suddenly, I had a bad scan. But yeah, so I mean, unfortunately, that's just in the cards for us. We'll always have to
Yes.
stay vigilant of that. But let me ask you, so you had a tumor then, correct? Like, how did you
Yeah.
first how did it, because I know with me I was suffering from major headaches. I thought I was on a medication from my dermatologist, and she said, Danny, these aren't, that medication side effects. Go to the emergency room, get a CAT scan. That's how my tumor was discovered, because I was having these crippling headaches. What about you? How did the discovery first come about?
Oh, for me, I was working in corporate. So I was a project manager for IT project manager, and I was working in corporate for like a long period of time until I was diagnosed. And I was working on a project where I'd be working for 12 hours a day and I was traveling a lot. So I just thought it was stress related. I didn't think that, I just thought it was stress.
Yeah.
There was some triggers where I would have like I felt like they were like little strokes, but I just thought it was stress. I really didn't know. I did have some headaches, but it was a lot of, I thought was more, um, like it wasn't a really bad headaches, but just mild headaches. I thought it was sinus, basically. I
Yeah.
thought it was sinus headaches. So, well, I ended up getting laid off from my job. And then as I got laid off, I kind of is all the stress from all the things that I was dealing with. And my parents were visiting and I was in my room. I ended up having a grand mal seizure. So luckily my mom saw me. I was on the floor and then they took me to the hospital and they did the MRI and they saw that I had a tumor. And they wanted, so the doctor at the time was like, "Oh, we're not bringing you back home. This is really," it was like 7 centimeters. So it was very, very large. So the doctor said, "We're going to do the surgery in like 2 days." And I was like, I'm in Vegas. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know about having
No,
surgery in
I hear
Vegas,
you.
I was really scared about that. But
You're like, they're
my
black cat dealers. They're not brain surgeons.
parents,
No brain.
yeah, so I was scared about that. But they're like, so my parents met this lady her name is Kelly Schmidt, and she's a pediatric uh brain she works for pediatrics kids that have brain tumors. So my parents were like, well, I really feel that she's really good, and I feel like she's going to be good jobs for Susan. I just feel it. And I was like, okay. And so she did the surgery, and yeah, she saved my life.
Yeah. So that's so when they did the surgery, then they tested, and that's when they discovered the cancer.
Yeah, yeah, they did. Yeah, they weren't sure if it was astro. I did 3 biopsies. The one was astrocytoma, and then 2 GBMs. So they sent out the lab work to like Mayo, the MD Anderson. So that yeah, so they did 3. So it ended up being stage 4.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, no, that's a tough battle because I mean I know it all too well. Now, let me ask you, you said when you first were kind of experiencing things and you were working, you said you were suffering like kind of what you felt were like mini strokes. Can you kind of
Hmm.
describe what you were going through? Because I know I actually, my first time I had it, it was mainly the headaches, the pain. I did get like vision things, issues. And then the second time I did have a stroke after my brain surgery, which left me blind for like 3 months and
Yeah.
hallucinating crazy. So I just if you could, because so I'm familiar with this
Yeah.
thing. Like, well, what did it feel like on your
Well,
end?
mine was not be able to speak, or I would come into like rambled words that wouldn't make any sense. So those are like that was the same.
Where
So
was
I
your
would have
ego
the
located?
mine is in the left side at parietal.
Okay, okay, mine was in the right
Communication.
side.
Yeah,
Oh,
communication. So there was the left parietal zone, and that's where the communication comes in. So what was happening, I couldn't communicate. I was just rambled words. And so yeah, I just but again, it passed. I felt really tired after that, but I just thought again it was stress.
yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, because stress, can play a number on our system. So, uh,
Mhm.
yeah, because for a long time, I thought it was stress or it was different medication I was on. So, I'm right there with you. What's interesting is so as yours was on the left side, mine was on the right side, and so for me, like when everyone would talk to me, like Danny, you sound great, because I could talk fine, but is my spatial reasoning was all messed up. Uh,
Uh-huh.
my vision was messed up. So it's interesting just the difference,
Yeah.
where it is in your brain and how it affects you. And it's curious because when I first went in for my CT scan, after my doctor sent me straight from her office to the hospital, the doctor at first wanted to do emergency brain surgery. And again, it's like when you're hearing something, I mean, tell me about your state of mind. Because when I first heard, going in, not thinking anything's wrong, to hearing you need brain surgery, it's a
Mhm.
terrifying thing. Of course, I didn't do that emergency brain surgery right away. I took my time and I found better doctors and I kind of did my course. I held it for 2 years, just treating it until, suddenly it came back and it grew, the tumor, of course. But what was your mindset when you first heard that you had a tumor, that you needed surgery, and that it, and then fast forward to hearing that you had cancer?
Well, I'm I've had my sister had cancer. So I know in my family we've had cancer. So I know about cancer. I live in the area. I live in Buffalo, New York, and there's a lot of cancer. I mean, there's just a lot of cancer. I did many research. I did a lot of research, and it's a lot of it from the water. It's from the steel mills. This is, so this is where it comes from. I did, I thought that I had a gene. I thought that maybe I had the glio gene, but it's really I feel it's really environmental.
Yeah.
So, for what is occurring for me, and my sister passed away from a GBM, as well. So I kind of knew, and she only lived for 2 years. She lived for 2 years. She had 3 kids. And so she was only 32 and she passed away. I was 35 when I was diagnosed.
Same here.
Yeah. So, but it all chalks up to, the environment of whatever it was, that where we were living, and the water and all this, the chemicals and all that stuff. So, there's been a lot of different things. Governor Como was supposed to go check in, all this stuff, but there really hasn't been a lot of findings from that.
Yeah, it's scary. I mean, I always try to, eat clean and stay away from,
Yeah.
sources that are like, highly, loaded with chemicals or have
I
heavy
know.
in
Well,
it.
that was the same thing with me. I was like a yoga teacher, a
I
vegan,
remember,
like,
yeah, yeah,
like we're all like exercising all the time. And you didn't want to, I mean, we don't know. I mean, it could hit us at any point in time, whether you're older or young. If you're, it doesn't, I feel like it doesn't really matter. I don't know. So it
it's
doesn't,
true.
it hits us anytime.
Yeah, let me ask you this, because so I'm, according to my, well, I grew up Jewish, I was raised Jewish, and according to my DNA, the ancestry, I'm 99.8% Jewish. Now,
Uh-huh.
I know you're Jewish as well. Is that correct?
No, I'm Italian and I'm
Oh,
German.
okay,
So yes, I'm Italian and German.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, you know what's funny is I thought that because I remember how we first got connected was through the Musella Foundation and the run.
Yeah.
So I just assumed that in Hilburger, it kind of sounds like it.
It's because the burger is like B. So it's, if it's Jewish, it's ER.
E-R
I
and
am
E.
UR.
Okay.
Yes, I'm like burger, like from Germany,
Oh,
burger.
okay, okay. So that
So it's
that's
a
kind of
UR. Yeah. And then
okay.
the B, so the ER is more Jewish. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Because that's where I was
Yeah.
going with that is I know like in my family, cancer runs heavily, and we do have those, those genes. Like both of my sisters had breast cancer,
Oh,
and so it's like really runs heavily in, uh, you know, in our yeah, in our blood or our family history,
uh,
unfortunately, because it's plagued us. So I just wanted to see if that aligned with you as well. But Neil, since I know that's not the case, I don't need to ask any further
yeah,
questions.
no, it's, that's what I'm saying is like I did so much research. I did a
Yeah,
lot of I did like some just a lot of testing, and it all comes back to the environment,
yeah. No,
unfortunately.
yeah, it is unfortunate. I mean, like I forget, I read something, you go back like 100, 200 years ago, cancer was really not known like it is now. Everyone
Uh-huh.
suffers from it because we have so many chemicals in our food, so many preservatives. I mean,
Yeah.
just in the water alone, you can't drink tap water. Like everyone knows,
No.
you stay away from that. It's poison.
Yeah, well, also I think where I grew up too, in my neighborhood, well, my mom's her for three best friends, their kids got cancer, brain cancer. So but they had lower grades of brain cancer.
Yeah,
So in the neighborhood that what was
yeah.
my mom's friends that were in the community, they got it.
So now, one thing I'd
Yeah.
like to hear, because this is a fabulous story, it really intrigues me, is so after, tell me about your family support system at the time, and then tell me about how you met your husband, being, post cancer survivor, things like that, or being after, fought cancer.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, he doesn't really understand because when I met him, I was already clean from everything. I already went through chemotherapy, went through radiation. I was basically a clean health bill right there. So,
Yeah,
I mean, I don't think he still understands. He
yeah,
doesn't understand because he doesn't understand, even though he knows I'm a survivor, I don't think he understands the gravity of what it is. So he doesn't really understand. As for the other people, that's why I love working with these people that I meet, because we understand each other. I
yeah,
mean, we understand each other. Because you could be your best friend, and they're your best friend, but they still don't understand. They don't understand like your battle of what you are going through, especially with brain cancer. So it's connecting and talking to other survivors, because it makes you feel stronger, it makes you feel better, and it's just more of a deeper connection.
No,
And it makes me feel healthier as well, like I can just share my story. I can talk about them, talk about that as well.
no,
So,
absolutely. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head about that. That's kind of why I've done my work with the American Cancer Society as well, and just being surrounded by individuals who really know the cancer battle, because it's true. Like even when you're going through chemo and things like that, people, like for me, I'm not one. I don't like to, play a victim, be like, oh, I'm sick and everything. So I kind of go through life, and friends, loved ones, and they won't realize what you're really dealing with,
no, they
and
don't. They don't. And sometimes they just chalk it off like, oh, okay, well, you're
yeah,
fine. You're fine.
exactly.
And they don't understand. And they think, and even with that, the lifespan, you know what I mean? And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, you're gonna live forever, like they don't understand the severity of this.
No, they do not, and that is very challenging sometimes. Just from your standpoint, because I mean, I know for me, just trying to stay normal and everything, and trying to keep my head above water just for my own sake. But then little errors happen, and people they don't cut you slack sometimes, just because like for like they think as soon as you're done with the surgery, or you're done with the chemo, you're good to go, and they don't realize like chemo brain lasts
Yeah.
for like a year
No,
plus. Yeah,
no, no. I mean, I used to work. I mean, I have a lot of degrees. I have a business degree, I have a psychology degree. But I can't do those jobs anymore. I mean,
yeah,
I wish I could, but it's hard for me to sometimes read comprehension. I mean, I'm so blessed that I can, drive on all these other, I can, but it's just the things before, like math, all the stuff before. I mean, I was working a lot, and all the education that I did to get to where I was. And then when I got sick and I had, those years of, radiation and the chemicals and this, it really just changes you.
oh,
It changes you. And so yeah. But I'm grateful. I'm very grateful that I'm still alive and I'm able to, talk, walk, and I'm very grateful for so many things, but it changes. You can't do those things that you used to do.
well, yeah,
And I
like
see with a lot of my surroundings, they don't have the same fortitude that they did before. They don't have the same like mental
ability.
capacity that they
Yeah,
used
yeah,
to have.
yeah,
I mean, it's like it changed because of all that a little
yeah.
bit. I'm not
No,
saying
absolutely.
everyone.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's funny because the only thing with me is, so I mean, of course, it was like a sliding scale as I'm going through it. But the only thing that I recognize, after my first surgery, and then even after my second one, it got a little bit worse, is just with my sense of direction. When I was a kid, you could place me. I would travel. I would never.
Yeah, me
I could
too.
just walk around the
Yep.
city, and I always knew. I just always find my way back. It was just my internal compass. It's
Yes.
not
I
like
mean,
that
the same thing
anymore.
with me. The
Yeah.
sense of direction, and even my daughter and my husband, they say, "Oh, I sometimes I get confused. I do get confused a lot of times. And yeah, things that and also for me it's like I'm not as quick as I was, like quick, like, okay,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
takes a little bit of time for me to understand things.
yeah.
And that's another thing, because sometimes I'm like, oh, I feel so stupid, you know what I mean? I feel so stupid because everyone else is getting it.
Yeah.
And I've gone through different, I do like some different yoga trainings and stuff like that. Was doing this biomechanic yoga training, and everyone was like super, super, super smart. And it was like, I'm like, it was really hard for me to really understand it. But I tried, that's what I just do, is just try, that's
That's
all
the
I can do
thing.
is try. And just, I'm just praise God that I'm still alive.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, that's the kind of theme of my life, of my channel, is that power of fight. And you're a fighter, you go through it, and you know, you get through what needs to be done to live another day. And that's really what cancer survivors do. Because, cancer, when people get it, they can make it their own death sentence. You'll have a death sentence from a doctor, but if you don't have the right mindset, if you don't have the right fortitude, if you're not willing to take those steps to get better, a lot of times it will defeat you, and you'll defeat yourself, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you on that one. I think the hardest thing is for me is when I connect. The thing is I, through these years, I've connected to many people, and the hardest thing for me is when you don't see them anymore. And so that's the hardest part. And there was a time I have actually, since my mother passed away, I really haven't been doing a lot of outreach to people, because, and they contact me, but it's really hard because you couldn't create relationships, you create friendships, and then then something happens. So that's the thing that it's hard for me. But I still try to keep the hope and the fight. But sometimes it does, through these years, it's been challenging for me.
No, absolutely. I'll tell you a little story. So I've always, I've always like, I'm going to fight this. I'm going to get through this. There was only one time through this last challenge that I was like, I don't know if I could keep going through. And I want to see if you ever had a scenario like this, or just something similar. I was suffering the major hallucinations. I had my stroke, and I was having these killer headaches before I got my ketamine therapy. And always my mindset is like, fight through it, you'll get through it, you'll get through it. And this was the first time in my life I was like, there was two instances, but this is the other first like real time I was like, I don't know if I can continue fighting this. I don't know if I could keep going. And then of course the next morning I changed my mind. Myself came back. I was like, no, you're gonna fight this, damn it. but
Mhm, mhm,
but yeah, I did have that moment where I was like, this is just too hard. I don't know if I could keep going. And
mhm.
that, was there ever a time like that for you where you're like, man, this is just overwhelming. Like I can't, I just don't feel like myself. I don't want to live. I don't know if I could continue this fight.
Yeah, I think it was last year, because I had a lump in my breast, and my mother had breast cancer, and it spread, and she passed away in October 7th. The 7th, it's always 7 for me for some reason, because I was diagnosed on the 7th. My mother passed away in the 7th of October. And
This is my bad month.
Yeah, I know, 7, right? That's
Yeah.
2 7s, but mine was February, and then my mom passed away in the October 7th. And so I got home, and they were like, you have a lump in your breast. And so that whole thing just unraveled me, because I'm like, oh my gosh, my mom just passed away. I was grieving and having to grieve from the loss of my beautiful mother, who was my best friend. I'd already lost my sister, and so I was just so upset from everything. And then I see this lump on my breast, and I was like, I just went for my annual, and they're like, oh, well, you have a lump. And I was about to go to Buffalo with my daughter, and just kind of spend the summer there, because it's really nice there instead of
Oh, yeah.
being here in Vegas. So then I was like, well, I have to get the appointments. And so anyways, I got the appointment. It was just a cyst. So it was fine. But the anticipation and the worry and the fear, and just like, why, and then it ended up turning out to be nothing, but it's like, why.
It's
So that
scary.
was that was that was one of the times that I was the breaking point for me.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
so glad you're here. I'm so glad you're strong and you're a fighter. And let me ask you, did doctors ever put like a timeline on your life, or have they said, this is, we're going to always, I mean, kind of just tell me about what the future looks like from the medical standpoint, and then from your own standpoint, like what you're, what you see, because I know we're all kind of fortune tellers after cancer survivors, and saying like, I only have this amount of years or that. I finally I finally got to a place where I'm not saying, "Oh, I'm not going to live till I'm 70 or 60," because I don't know. I could very well. I plan on living that long. Like that's right now. I do plan on just beating it. I do everything I can to promote change to get a damn cancer cure, and that's that's why I go to Congress and everything like that. Because my
Yeah, I'm
goal
really
is
glad that you're doing that.
to,
I really thank you that you do that. I mean, I was trying to do that for a long period of time. It's just exhausting. I'm telling you, it's exhausting for these 12 years, exhausting that, things since, my sister passed away, things really haven't changed. I've done so much research, I've done this and that, and things really haven't changed much. So it's just this thing where you fight, and you're not really getting. I mean, now there's somewhat advanced. There's so many things, somewhat, like say little,
Yeah.
but there's nothing huge. There's the Optune, right? And there's some other things, but nothing like outstanding where like, okay, you're going to be cured for X amount of whatever years. So this is why I was fighting and fighting and fighting. And it's like, well, we're not, why? It's the same thing, same regimen. Okay. Temodar, radiation, blah, 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 blah. And then it's been going on for how many years? My sister was taking Temodar many, many years. And then, so what is really, I mean, there's different things have changed. I mean, there's the vaccines, there's different things. But it's just, that's the thing. That's why, and I'm glad that you're fighting for it, because it's a battle.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I could share a couple new things that have come out, which is great. But just to kind of touch upon the whole point. So yeah, the movement on cancer has been slow, especially for brain cancer. I mean,
Yes, it has.
for prostate cancer, it's around like a 97%
Yeah.
survival
Breast
rate.
cancer.
Breast cancer as well. Brain cancer is the one that's still kind of lagging behind. There have been a couple breakthrough treatments. So like when I got diagnosed in 2022, I was expecting to go back on Temodar.
Hmm.
The radiation again, where you go through that big machine, they had that red light go over you. This time it was different though. The chemo I was on, they found I had two genetic factors that allowed me to take these two new chemos. One was
Oh, great.
gliosine. Yeah,
Hmm.
one was called gliosine, and then I did an immunotherapy, which I'll be on forever, which is fine. There's no side effects. It's called Tipsovo.
Oh,
So those were two new breakthroughs that came out. And then another one that came out, which I had as well, are called gamma tiles. So
oh,
instead
the
of
gamma. I've heard
yeah,
about the gamma
yeah,
tiles.
yeah,
Yeah, I actually, there was a girl that I know who was the survivor. She just had a surgeon of her cancer. She lives in New Zealand, and I was telling her about that, but I don't know if they have that in New Zealand. So,
yeah, yeah, that was,
but
and
that's really great. So you put the tile, so you're putting it in, and it's for the radiation, but it's the
yeah,
so okay, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, no worries. So I could tell you that. So what happened was when I had my, well, before I had my surgery, they said, okay, well, we're going to fit you for these gamma tiles. And what we're
Yeah,
going
the
to do
tiles.
is we're going to unzip your head essentially, because I already had that big scar. And that's exactly how the doctor described it. Unzip my head. And then they're going to look in it, and they're going to test the tumor that's in there. And if it was cancerous, which indeed it was, stage 4 glioblastoma, they were going to place these tiles on, these gamma tiles or wafers. And that's
Yeah.
what they did. So they placed the wafers on, and they treat you for around the same time as about when you're going through the 6 weeks of radiation, like I did the first time. So it
Hmm.
lasts, I forget, like whatever 6 weeks comes up to. That's how many days it lasts until it completely dissolves in your brain. And really, I mean, I have to say that was. I mean, just from all my tests and everything that I have now, and no tumor regrowth, all my blood looks
Right.
great. So so
Did
there
you lose, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Did you lose hair from that?
so no, this time I did
See,
not.
that's the thing. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna tell you, in 2011, they did the radiation.
yeah,
I
I
still
lost it.
have this huge bald spot,
Oh
like
yeah,
from here, from the
yeah,
radiation. And luckily I can kind of cover it up.
yeah,
But the blasting of the radiation for that amount of time, like the hair follicles will really never
yeah,
grow back. And so I try to make it, so many people don't even notice that I have this big,
yeah,
like black hair. It's bald there,
yeah.
but yeah, yeah, I know that it's changed so much, and
Yeah.
I'm so glad that that has changed as well. So that's great to know.
Yeah, no, I was very worried about that because one of the breaking points for me in my first surgery was after I had that radiation. I was in the shower, all my hair came out. It was like
Yeah,
it
that's
became
what happened
so
to me.
real. Yeah,
Yeah,
uh,
for me too. And I had really long hair, and I
yeah,
had really thick hair.
yeah.
So,
Same here. Yeah,
and so I didn't, to be honest, at the time, I wasn't really, I didn't believe it. You're like in denial. So I
Well, of
didn't believe it. I
course.
was like, oh no, my hair's not going to fall out. And then all of a sudden it started clumps coming out. And then I needed to get a wig. So
Yeah.
I didn't have to get a wig, but I would wear a wig once in a while,
Yeah.
but it still,
I know,
it was.
I totally get that. For me, as a guy, it was easier. I just shaved my head.
Yeah,
I did have that
exactly. But for
huge
a woman,
scar,
it's
of
hard
course. Yeah.
because, and
Yeah.
especially I remember when I was during that time in 2011, it was, like you wear a wig. So well, I wouldn't wear the wig a lot, but if I wanted to go someplace, I wanted to wear my wig, which was a really beautiful wig.
Yeah.
It was from the Wig Cottage and they made it particularly for me and it was really pretty. However, when it was windy or something like that, it's like I was worried about the hair, my
Yeah. Yeah.
hair.
It's gonna fly off. Yeah. You have to
Yeah,
chase
so
it
that
down the
was the
street.
thing. And
Yeah.
also I was taking Decatron. And
Yeah.
that was another thing that bothered me because they were giving me so high dosages of the Decatron. So my face was so bloated from
That moon
the
phase. Yeah.
steroid. So I was like, it didn't even look like me. I mean, my face was just all bloated and my joints were hurting and everything was hurting. So
Yeah. Yeah. For those of you out there who don't know, like Decadron, and I hope I'm saying it right. And then uh I'm I'm spacing on the other one, but the steroids, the anti-inflammatory steroids they give you are meant to treat inflammation. And what they
uh,
do is they swell you up, and there's something
yeah,
called
they swell
moon
you up
phase.
really
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
And
And then
especially if you're in the tunnel where you're doing the radiation and you keep on doing the radiation
oh
for
yeah.
like 6 weeks, then you start the cap that they make for your head. Then you can't even
Yeah.
expand so much the cap. So like it's you can't hardly even breathe because it's so large from the inflammation from your face. And I don't she, the doctor told me I was on it for a long period of time, with the Decatron. I know things have changed and I'm so glad, I'm so
Prednisone was
glad that
amazing.
things have changed for the
Yeah.
Decatron and
Yeah.
also for the things. And I'm glad that you're on the forefront of this. So
Oh,
that's
no.
really great.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and the steroids were Decadron and Prednisone, and
Prednisone, yeah,
yeah,
prednisone and the Decatron.
yeah, and those were like I did not like the steroids. Those were never they never felt good. I hated the moon face first of all. That drove me crazy. And
Hmm.
but just to mention that the hair thing, so I do like right here. I don't my hair doesn't grow in as well as it used to. Just because
Oh,
the radiation. I mean, it doesn't look bad. Like it's just
Oh no, it's not bad. It doesn't it really look like, I mean, yeah,
yeah,
mine is pretty bad just because I don't know. I mean, I don't know why they rated it so much, but
yeah,
it goes all the way up. But at the
yeah,
time, I think that's just how they did it.
yeah.
But I'm so glad that technology has changed dramatically and you don't have to do, because the other cancer survivors that I were talked to, they, obviously theirs was as big as mine. So,
Yeah.
there's just like a little radiation. So.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Susan, I know we've been on for a little while, but I wanna, before we get off, I just want, first of all, thank you so much for coming here and sharing your stories and your story with us. And if you want to just, mention anything, talk about anything, I'll open up the floor to you now.
No, I mean, basically, I would say, I have a lot of gratitude. I think I look at things differently. When I first came out from the hospital, and I remember it was a beautiful day. It was February, and I sat outside in my backyard, and I just saw things differently. I saw the birds chirping. I could see the beautiful sun. I just things changed for me. And I think I always had hope. I never really thought that I was going to die. I always had hope. I always had hope that I was going to live for a long period of time. And I believe in Jesus Christ, and I believe that He's guided me for many ways. I believe in the Holy Spirit, and I feel like the direction that He's giving me, and the direction I can battle this. I can battle and I can help others. I like to work with veterans and the people that are, undeserved, and the people that don't really have, people that don't have nothing. So I like to. I'm a Reiki master too, so I love to send energy to those people, especially the ones that are suffering, and kind of noticing, the energy from their bodies and how I can, how they can change. So basically that, I would say just never give up. Don't listen to what the doctors are telling you. I think this, as if the doctors tell you you only have 1 year, don't believe that, because look at me. I mean, I've been living for almost 13 years now. And if you don't believe that you're going, a lot of times it's the mind, it's the mind control. Like, I can't do this. I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm really weak. Don't believe that. Believe in your true self, believe in your true self, believe in your heart that you can conquer this battle, that you're able to conquer this battle. And yeah, don't listen to what they're telling you, because they're not God. They're not God. I mean, I agree that they do have, they have the formulations of things and the statistics, but the same thing, they are not God. So don't believe on everything, believe in you and believe in your strength. And just tell yourself you can do it. You can do it. You can conquer the battle. Even when you're weak, you're telling yourself, I can do this. And I use a mantra. I use mantras all the time.
Excellent.
Mind tools like, inhale, I am, exhale, strong. Inhale, I am a survivor.
Yeah.
I'm a survivor, or I'm a survivor. And you repeat it, that it really gets into your brain, instead of saying, oh gosh, no, I can't do this. I'm going to die. This is going to, all those things. So.
No, absolutely. I mean, speaking into that point, I always go back to say my grandfather said to me, "Is like your mind could be your best friend or your worst enemy." And throughout my whole life, I kind of struggle with that dichotomy. But the whole thing is you guys got to push through. I never thought I was going to die, and maybe
Yeah.
that's foolhardy or not, but I still don't think so. I think I'm still going to survive. I'm going to fight through it, whatever comes my way. I'm going to get through. I'm not going to beat myself. I'm going to look positive, the power of, positivity, and really forge ahead. And Susan, let me tell you, like, you are a fighter. Your story is incredible. I'm so grateful to have you on today to share your story, which will really inspire people. It is people like us that give others hope to keep fighting, to forge on. And I'm so grateful for having you here today.
Yeah, you can, I have a website, it's susanhilburger.com. You can, and my email is susan susanhilburger.com. And, you can reach out to me, and I'll try to get back to you. But I just, want to tell you that don't give up.
Excellent.
Don't
Excellent.
give up.
Excellent. And I will put your all those ways to contact you in the description as well. So everyone, please look at that. And also everyone, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video so we can bring you more content and really kind of spread the word to others. Because again, we're here to help people through our own stories and inspire hope, and help them fight whatever comes, whatever they're up against in life. That's the whole thing, is the power of fight, power of positivity, and staying strong. And with that, again, Susan, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone out there. Please like and subscribe and share this video. And as always, keep up the fight. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you. God bless.